Hello and good evening. I am Alphonso McGriff III, and this is Alphonso Speaks. And what we do with Alphonso Speaks is we focus on, how to engage in what I identify as a conscious conversation. Now, a conscious conversation, KONSHUS, a conscious conversation is the word conscious is an acronym. And the acronym means kindness over negativity supports healing, understanding, and self-responsibility. So I like to share with people how to have a conscious conversation. Now, the conscious conversation experience is a collaboration and movement that chooses love and enlightenment. And the word chooses is very important because many of us aren't aware that we choose our misery, whether we know it or not. At all times, how we're feeling emotionally is what we have chosen to feel. And that's a tough pill to swallow, but that's the actual fact. And we focus on resolution, or what I call resolution. And that is to make decisions that serve my best interests. When I'm involved in resolution, I'm making decisions that serve my best interests. And what I call the successful solving of a problem. And so when I engage in conversations, if there are challenges, I'm always looking for the successful solving of a problem. And I think that many of us miss out on the successful solving of a problem because we choose conflict and confrontation. I am here to help myself and people around the world transform conflict into what I call a conscious conversation that leads to understanding, resolution, and enlightenment. So now the question is, what is a conscious conversation? Well, when I talk about a conscious conversation is a verbal interaction where we speak with the desire to understand. A verbal interaction where we speak with the desire to understand. If there is no desire to understand, there can be no conscious conversation. So a conscious conversation is a verbal interaction where we speak with the desire to understand. We ask questions and share information. We take responsibility for our thoughts, words, and actions and control our prejudices and emotions, which, if left unchecked, will disrupt the goal of having a conscious conversation. The strength of a conscious conversation is its ability to inspire rather than manipulate. Ultimately, the conscious conversation is a pathway to understanding, resolution, and enlightenment. The conscious conversation is a pathway to understanding, resolution, and enlightenment. So my goal is to be here at least 5 nights a week. I'm gonna definitely start a little earlier, maybe around 8 o'clock, if I'm not busy, but the goal is to be on at 8 o'clock Monday through Friday. And I'm going to try to meet that goal and objective Monday through Friday, uh, 8 o'clock. So, and each night I'll deal with a different aspect of life that helps give us an understanding of what a conscious conversation is about. I've been presenting the branding of conscious conversation for a while now. And when I say the branding, I'm just talking about speaking about it on my social media and letting people know what it's about. My book, the roots of a tree, the genesis of a conscious conversation, is at the very foundation of everything that I'm talking about. And so if you have a desire, if you want to get the book, this is the book, The Roots of a Tree, The Genesis of a Conscious Conversation. It's available on Amazon. And you can order it on Amazon, or you can get it through me. You can contact me through social media, and I can do what I can to make sure you get a copy of the book. So tonight, as it relates to a conscious conversation, we're going to talk about speaking with respect and modesty. Speaking with respect and modesty. And when I talk about speaking with respect and modesty, the fundamental equal consideration and courtesy that every person deserves simply for being a human being. This is what respect. I'm speaking about respect now. The fundamental equal consideration and courtesy that every person deserves simply for being a human being. It's also accepting them on an equal basis and giving them the same consideration you would expect for yourself. And when we talk about modesty, we're talking about understanding that we may not know everything, and our experiences are not universal. Our experiences are not going to always be the same. And other people carry experiences that we do. And sometimes they don't. So we don't always fully understand each other. So we like to try to participate in thoughtful, open learning from one another when we're interacting with each other during what I call a conscious conversation. Now, at the root of everything that I'll be talking about from tonight on, at the root of everything I'll be discussing from tonight on about a conscious conversation will be respect. And respect is very important. What's even more important is self-respect. We must have self-respect. And a lot of people will never acknowledge that they don't have self-respect because nobody wants to say it. Well, I don't have self-respect. And I'm saying that we demonstrate it in so many ways. And if I were to say, well, you don't have any self-respect, people will be ready to throw hands and get hostile and engage in a physical altercation. So, but I want to break down the brass tacks of self-respect. I want to get right to the bottom line of self-respect. When we have self-respect, we look out for ourselves at all times. And I have compromised my self-respect. I have definitely compromised my self-respect in my lifetime. I would think that there's not too many human beings that haven't compromised their self-respect, because in this society, the way things are set up, this society pretty much teaches us and raises us on compromising our self-respect and then being uncomfortable with it and accepting the discomfort. So, for example, in this society, um, it's normal to react when somebody calls you a negative name. Somebody says something to you or about you that's negative. In this society, it's normal to react. And everybody would say, well, that's normal. When my son is almost 30 now, but when he was 5 years old, he came in the hair salon one day and they were calling him hot lips because the women were giving him kisses and everything. And he was running from person to person trying to get them to stop calling him hot lips. And I grabbed him. I said, hey, listen, you have to do better, because you can't control any of these people, but you can control yourself. So this running around trying to stop people from calling you hot lips is a form of insanity. And all of the women in the salon started chastising me because they were trying to help me understand that that's normal. Kids teach each other and they get upset. That's normal. And I'm like, no, when you don't have self-respect, that's not normal. So, well, what do you mean you don't have self-respect? I said, if somebody can call you a name verbally, this is not physically, we're talking about verbally. If somebody can get you twisted to the left because they said something, well, let me reverse that. If somebody said something to me and I got twisted to the left because of it, then my self-respect is gone. Anytime I give somebody control over my emotional state of mind, and then in turn give them control literally over the function of my physiological reality and my organs, I give them control over my blood pressure and my breathing rate and my adrenaline flow and cortisol flow and all of these things that have a negative effect on our body, which when that cortisol is flowing, it gives us this high blood pressure because our veins and capillaries become restricted and they're not as flexible when cortisol and adrenaline is flowing. And so when we give people control of our physiological reality because they said something we don't like, then then I am compromising my self-respect. If that happens to me, that is what I identify as compromising my self-respect. I can't hand all of that over to somebody and not be compromising my self-respect. So when I speak in terms of self-respect, I'm speaking in terms of when we do something other than what's best for us because someone outside of who we are said something. I mean, and there's many ways, I can say something. For instance, if somebody said to me, well, that makes me upset when you say that. For me, you're telling me you don't have any self-respect because I don't want that much control over you. But you're letting me know that you're handing it to me You're letting me know that I can have it. I got you. At any time I choose, I can say something and have full control over you. The question is, how can we be in so-called friendships and relationships when we're constantly compromising our self-respect? I know when I'm compromising my self-respect, when I accept something that I don't like for an extended period of time, and I don't demonstrate the ability to do what's in my best interest, so that I'm not in the position of accepting something for an extended period of time that I don't like. Anytime we are accepting something that we don't like for an extended period of time, for whatever reason, and I'll come back to me. Anytime I am accepting something for an extended period of time that I don't like for any reason, I am compromising my self-respect. And what usually happens, and when I know I'm compromising my self-respect, I'm frustrated. And then from frustration comes anger. And then from anger comes resentment. And then resentment, sadness. And then sadness, depression. And then from depression to trauma. Now, it's possible to go through those stages and find ourselves at trauma, but the point is we're traumatizing ourselves I am traumatizing myself when I compromise my self-respect. I'm putting myself in the position to be traumatized. And in this society, we are conditioned to try to get the other person to change so that we can be comfortable. If you want to know the history of violence, the history of conflict, the history of fighting, the history is when one person is trying to force another person to do something they don't want to do. And that is going on in this society at all times. And if we don't have any control over ourselves, if I don't have any control over myself, and I'm running around here trying to get somebody to adjust so that I can be comfortable, I personally think that is a form of insanity. It's very unhealthy. You know, it's like going to a football game and standing on the 50-yard line and grabbing the microphone and hitting the mic and say, "Excuse me, everybody. If y'all could just make these few adjustments for me, I'd be so happy." It's just not going to happen. People adjust for themselves, and nobody is going to adjust for you. You can tell them, "Well, I just told you yesterday, and you're still doing it again today." Well, that's not their problem. They're not the problem. You are, because you haven't had the courage to make a decision. Am I going to accept this and shut up about it, or am I going to make a decision and make a move? And most of us don't want to make that tough decision. We just want the other person to just adjust. If you can just adjust and change. If I was with a woman who woke up every morning and drank a 40 and smoked a blunt, and the smoke is getting all in the cloth in the house, and you walk in the door and you just smell the smoke, and that's not something that would be acceptable for me. I don't care how much I think I'm attracted to somebody or how much I like somebody. I would make a change. I would say, hey, this is not acceptable and this is not going to work. And not enough people have the courage to make a move. So what happens is we have people who want, all the other person has to do is just change. And I don't have to make the tough decision that represents me having self-respect. So self-respect is a part of the root of many of our challenges when it comes to how we're living. Self-respect is at the root. I found out self-respect was a lack of self-respect was at the root of most of my challenges with other people. But because I wanted to maintain some type of relationship, it could be a relative, it could be a friend, I didn't have the courage to make a decision for me to make a move. I have to end this interaction. I have to end this relationship. I have to do whatever is necessary for me to be at peace. And that is the foundation for me maintaining my self-respect. So I can't run around. Now, if I'm dealing with somebody and we're trying to get to know each other, that's cool. So we have discussions. Hey, when you do this, it's not sexy to me. It doesn't work for me. And they say to me, well, when you do that, I'm having some challenges with it. And it's natural, I think, to make some adjustments when we are trying to get to know each other. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be relatives or whoever. It could be friends. It could be so-called relationships. But it's okay for a little give and take. But extended discomfort and frustration is not the other person's problem. It's mine. If I have extended frustration and disappointment, then I am my problem because I am compromising my self-respect. If somebody can say something to me and I get twisted to the left, it's not their problem, it's mine. Because if I give them that juice in my life, then I have no self-respect. So ultimately, that again is the foundation for everything, having some self-respect. So tonight, I just wanted to introduce myself, Alphonso McGriff III. This is Alphonso Speaks. I'll be coming on Monday through Friday. The goal is to come on at 8 o'clock and share information about how to engage in the conscious conversation. And a major part of engaging in a conscious conversation is maintaining our self-respect. We have to have it. And like I said, many of us would lose our minds if somebody told us we didn't have any self-respect. However, my actions and many of us with our actions demonstrate we compromise our self-respect every day. So I hope that I've given you something that makes sense as it relates to how we communicate. And like I said, ultimately my goal is to not just broadcast all around the world, but travel all around the world, sharing this information about conscious conversation, speaking with respect and modesty, giving people equal consideration and courtesy that every person deserves simply because they're a human being. That's respect. And don't forget self-respect. You know, you give other people respect, but you gotta have some self-respect. And modesty is understanding that we don't have it all figured out. It's a whole lot that we don't know. In my book, I list 87 places around the world and situation, people, places, and things that we have no understanding of. And AI doesn't either. Have no idea how it was created, how it was built, how it was set up. And one of the most amazing things to me on a personal level are these pots that were found in Egypt. And they are made of some of the hardest stone known to man. And they're smooth on the outside and just as smooth on the inside. And there's one piece. And they're the same thickness all the way around. And there is no machine that we have today that can reproduce that kind of pot. So that's what keeps me going, understanding that there's so much that I don't know and don't understand. And I have a desire to continue to grow and evolve. And the only way I can continue to grow and evolve is to be able to engage in conversations without being in a fight. And I know that what's trending is fighting and conflict, but I will not be engaging in what's trending. I'm engaging in what we can do to avoid being in fights and conflicts. So again, I'm here to help myself and people around the world transform conflict into conscious conversation that leads to understanding, resolution, and enlightenment. What is a conscious conversation? The conscious conversation experience is a collaboration and movement that chooses love and enlightenment. We choose how we feel at all times. A conscious conversation is a verbal interaction where we speak with the desire to understand. If there is no desire to understand, there is no conscious conversation. We ask questions and share information. We take responsibility for our thoughts, words, and actions and control our prejudices and emotions, which, if left unchecked, will disrupt the goal of having a conscious conversation. The strength of a conscious conversation is its ability to inspire rather than manipulate. Ultimately, the conscious conversation is a pathway to understanding, resolution, and enlightenment. So everything that I do from here on out, Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock, will be about how we can be better with how we interact with one another and how we can get to know ourselves based on universal laws, principles, and understandings. So I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. And I am going to end this stream and I'll be back tomorrow night. Have a good night. I look forward to your comments and your thoughts. Please share and I can respond the next time I see you. Have a good night. Peace. I am Alphonso McGriff III. This is Alphonso Speaks, and I absolutely love you all, and I will never give up on our people. Peace.